Hello everyone, welcome to my sort of second series of YouTube videos. Playing some Pioneer today, giving the modern prowess deck a rest. Just did the 3 videos on that one, went 2 and 1 in my sort of theoretical league. This one is, as you can see, a Naya Zoo list. Literally just found this deck this afternoon, I've never played it before, so that's my little disclaimer when I go 0 and 3 and play horribly and don't know what I'm doing with the deck. Looks pretty cool though. It just won an STG qualifier. If we just get into the deck list then, lands, nothing to see here really. It's just got, it's a 3-colour deck, which fills me with a little bit of trepidation. It looks like it's a pretty aggressive deck. I guess most of the multicolour ones are shock lands, so shouldn't be too bad in terms of lands coming untapped. The issue is, I suppose, if you get an opening hand with lands that don't allow you to play your spells on curve. I think that's the issue. But looking at it, I think it's sort of green-white based in terms of what you need to cast on curve. If we're looking at all the creatures, all of the 1-drops are green, all of the 2-drops are green-white. Atarka's command, Boros Charm, is where the red starts coming into it. I guess don't have to be cast on turn 2, so they're almost in the kind of 3-drop slot really. Bonecrushers, similarly, stomp side of it. Not always going to be casting that on curve on turn 2. Sometimes you will, sometimes you'll cast it in their end step on turn 2, untap, play it on your own turn 3. Gruul Spellbreaker, again, it's a 3-drop. It might be that on turn 3 you just have to play one of these, but that could be an issue. Also, none of the lands have got any other abilities on them, which it's a pity. They don't have any scry abilities. None of them can be cracked to draw a card or pump your creature or anything like that, but I think you're getting all that utility from the fact you're playing 3 colours anyway, so you get a lot of sort of multifunctional cards like Boros Charm and Atarka's command. Sideboard, we've got Knight of Autumn, Dromoka's command, so you've got lots of spells which do a lot of things. So it's going to make me think a lot of while it's an aggressive deck, I think a lot of the turns are going to be sort of multi-choice, where you can either play something, play a creature, play another creature, or play a creature, hold up a spell. You can attack into things, you can choose not to attack into things. I think it's going to be quite a tricky one to play really. I've not played it before, so I'm expecting it to be quite difficult, even though it looks straightforward. It's a creature based deck, it's an aggressive deck, we'll see. So anyway, the 1-drops, almost 8 of the same card essentially. Pelt Collector is the one I'm more familiar with, to be honest, because I'm more of a sort of recent player. I started playing a couple of years ago. So when something comes in, if the power is greater than this thing, it gets a counter, and then when you get enough counters, 3 or more, it gets trample. Experiment 1, pretty the same, apart from I think it counts evolve is toughness as well, which I guess here is irrelevant because everything is 2 2 3 3 4 4. Don't think there's anything in the deck other than Knight of Autumn in the sideboard which has higher power than toughness. So I guess that could be a consideration. Knight of Autumn might not trigger Experiment 1. If there's already a 2 2, this won't trigger it. Which it wouldn't have anyway. Boros Charm is a card I'm familiar with in modern burn decks. Seems pretty good for 2 mana. Loads of functionality there. You can use it defensively. You can use it aggressively to just get a kill out of nowhere. If you've, Gruul Spellbreaker into chucking away a Ghor-Clan Rampager to make it 7/7. Boros Charm, double strike, 14 damage. So that's going to cost 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana, which seems doable. I don't think that many games in Pioneer finish turn 3 or 4. There's obviously some games against sort of inverter decks which are done by turn 5. Probably a few games against the Lotus Breach decks which similarly you can just have lost by that, but I think those 2 decks have actually dropped off a bit. Sultai decks obviously games are going to be really long against them. Blue-white control is reasonably popular. So yeah, I think doing something like that isn't out of the question. The question I think with this card is when you go for it and when you don't, because there'll be turns where you probably have you can have a win, and if you go for it, but the opponent has mana up, so I think it's a question of sort of picking your spot to go for something like that. You could alternatively go for it with just put them to 6 or something in response to the removal, then give something indestructible win next turn. So I think that's going to be something that I'll have to be careful of whether, when to go for it and when not. Trying to look at what mana the opponents have got up, what cards they could need to be playing around. Voice of Resurgence, dropping down here all the way, but just sort of this card. This card seems absolutely nuts. 2 mana 2/2, so it sort of beats the sort of vanilla test, or make, is absolutely fine for that. And then if opponents are playing things like Opts or Seal Aways or whatever, you get an XX or X equal to the number of creatures you control. So at least a 1/1 with this deck, more likely a 2/2 or a 3/3, which then obviously triggers these guys. If this is coming on turn 2, this dies. There's a good chance of triggering one of your experiment ones or Pelt Collectors, even if it's not. You're getting an extra body. Fleecemane Lion. Again, well, it's just a 2 mana 3/3, which is pretty good. This one I'm not familiar with. I've not played with it, but I know the card. Just seems good. 2 mana 3/3, which you can, if you're flooded later on, if you've got no cards in hand, you can just go, okay, well, I'll pay 5, make it monstrous, so it gives it a +1 counter, I believe, and I guess you're going to be using that in end steps or in response to removal. I guess you have to time that. If you use it in the end step in response to kill it, it'll feel quite bad. But then if you've got Voice of Resurgence out, that's great. You get a creature. 5 mana is a lot, but I think that's kind of an additional ability. It's a 2 mana 3/3, which is very similar to Bronzehide Lion, the one again I'm more familiar with, just come out. Not seen any play in standard, but I think that's because green white isn't seeing play as opposed to this card. If green white does see play, this card seems pretty good. Similar ability, you can pay 2 to give it indestructible, and when it dies it comes back as an aura, which gives something else that ability essentially. Unfortunately, I was reading about this one earlier, it doesn't trigger these guys when it comes back out of the graveyard. I was just checking that, but it does come in as an aura as opposed to a creature. It's not a creature it's not like a creature enchantment or anything like that. I was just checking because obviously when it comes back it loses abilities, but I think it still probably has a power and toughness in theory, so I think there might be some weird cases where it's an aura and it has a power, but I don't think that's ever going to come up. Not really sure about that one, but yeah, card seems good. It's just nice. Play this on turn 1, play this turn 2, you've got 5 power on the board already. Turn 3 you're attacking for 5 plus, well, maybe another 3 here, or plus something gets double strike, or +4 damage. It's a lot of damage. I think this deck can probably win on turn 3 or 4 quite easily. Probably turn 4, I imagine, realistically. Atarka's Command, not played with this one before. It's just 2 mana and you get 4 options. It's just already looks good to me. Opponents not being able to gain life seems like it could be relevant sometimes against sort of controlling decks, against decks playing Uro. And just the fact that you get to pick 2 seems quite incredible for these cards, because opponent casts Uro, in response you cast that and you use the top 2 abilities. They can't gain life and they take 3. So they put 3 mana, they draw a card, put a land into play and take 3 damage instead of gaining 3. You can then untap and kill them, because their Uro's just gone straight to the graveyard. They think they're quite safe, they've tapped out for it, they're on, I don't know, 14 life or something when they do that. Instead of going up to 17 they actually go down to 11, and you ping, and then you untap and cast a hasty 3 or 4 drop, or just a 2 drop here for 2 damage, or you get an extra 4 damage in for 2 here. So I think that could be really relevant. Putting a land onto the battlefield, again that could be, turn 2 end step you do that, turn 3 you untap, put a land into play, hit them with a questing beast. Seems a bit scary. So yeah, I think, all of the abilities on this just seem really relevant for this deck, for any deck playing creatures and having an aggressive game plan. The last one, all of your creatures getting +1 and reach. The reach bit I guess isn't going to be as relevant unless you're sort of defensive against spirits, so maybe it is. I think you're more likely want to be using that one as an aggressive thing again. Swinging with 3 creatures makes their combat maths a bit of a nightmare. You can just do many things with this card. Alright, everything gets +1, so 2 things then trade. This then dies, it pumps something dies, then pumps one of these guys up. I think these only die on ETBs, not death triggers. So there's pros and cons of these, but they're very similar. That seems good. I think we've covered all the 2 drops. Bonecrusher is kind of another 2 drop, 2 mana for Stomp. Gets around protection. I don't think protection is going to be a huge thing in Pioneer, but still, people might be boarding in, and then Cerulean Drakes, things like that. It's just a slight upside for a 2 mana shock, which is already usually quite bad because it's stapled onto a 4/3, which can ping them for 2 if they target it. Card's obviously really good. Playing it in the prowess lists shows how good it is, because it's sort of a 2/3 mana card in a deck which plays other 1-drops, and yeah, it's still in that deck, so yeah, pretty damn good. Not much else to say about that one. I can see exactly why it's being played. Gruul Spellbreaker, saw some play in standard, it seems some fringe play, just again really I think like the Bronzehide Lion, because Gruul hasn't seen much play. Anytime Gruul does see play, this gets straight in the deck. It's the first card in the deck really. So 3 mana 3/3 haste, trample, plus you and it have hexproof on your turn, so you can't get Settle the Wreckage, you can't, obviously it can't be sealed away, things like that, or seal away even, or you just play it as a 4/4 if you need a bit of extra size. Maybe you need to pump these guys up, they're already 3/3s, you play this, suddenly they're all 4/4s, and then next turn you swing, give them all +1. This has trample anyway, this will then have trample probably because it'll be a 4/4 itself, so you can be patient with it as well. I think, well, I guess there's also a plus side of opponents playing Teferi / Thoughtseize, Thought Erasure effects, can't do it in your turn. Just, yeah, it's good. It's just a perfect card for 3 mana, just you get a lot of value off of that for 3 mana. Worst case you cast it, it gets countered or whatnot, but you've paid a cheap rate for a good creature there. Questing Beast is kind of just the next level up from that, 4 mana for all of the abilities in the world. I don't think we need to say much more about that. The card hasn't seen as much play as I first thought when it got spoilt. Potentially again that's to do with the meta in standard rather than how good the card is. I mean, 4 mana 4/4 with all the first 3 abilities is just nuts anyway. Then it's got bonus, so you can't be fogged, bonus. Anyway, we'll stop talking about that. Everyone knows how good Questing Beast is. I think it's just a good card in this deck. It makes sense completely. And the Rampager, again, it's got versatility. I think that's what I like about this deck. Looking at it, it's an aggressive deck, but it's got a lot of options. It's got a load of different lines of play. So this thing, you can basically chuck it away to pump something by its own power and toughness, or you can just play it as a 4 mana 4/4 trample. In which case, it's a 1 mana more expensive Gruul Spellbreaker. But it's having that extra flexibility. I think having so many sort of essentially split cards, just this deck looks really good. My slight worry is I don't see how it beats the inverter combo. I mean, I see the way it beats them is that it kills them before they get it off, so maybe that's the only game plan. It doesn't seem like there's anything in the main or the sideboard which is a direct response to that, but as I said, maybe the response to it is you just kill them quicker than they can kill you. I guess the worry is they go turn 1 Thoughtseize, take your best thing, turn 2 you play something, they fatal push it, turn 3 you play something, they fatal push it again. But I mean, that's kind of a dream scenario for them, that sometimes those decks just do that anyway. Declaration in Stone, I'm guessing it's for other creature decks. What does it do? Exiles them, and so it's like a Settle the Wreckage for 1 thing or more, like a I can't remember the 2 mana black one in standard, Legion's End, but you can target anything, and yeah, they get a token for it, but it seems pretty good. Rest in Peace, I'm guessing that's coming in versus Lotus Breach decks, versus Delirium seems good, versus Soulflayer. Just picked up a couple of these actually, the new Gideon version, which look very pretty. I need to find where they are actually, so if I'm going to play this in paper then I need to dig them out. Dromoka's Command, another of the command / charm cards, 2 mana, choose 2, again, already looks good. Give something protection, essentially, prevent all damage something would deal, or could even save you if you're playing against another aggressive deck. Make someone sack an enchantment, so I guess this is pretty decent against the breach decks, which I haven't seen that much in terms of qualifier results and everything. Like I say, this did well in a SCG qualifier. DJ Miles, not heard of him before, but he came first in this qualifier, which, let's have a look who else did what in this thing. So it was on the 14th, so it was 6 days ago. Obviously there haven't been that many events since then. Other decks that did well, Dimir Inverter, no surprise there, a couple of them. Spirits, a couple of different versions, some with, some without the 4 mana card, Collector Company, and Blue Eye Control. Yeah, there's usually sort of one of them floating around. Oswald Stram's a funny one. Played that deck. it's difficult to play. I think it's decent. I think I've just had enough of it really, but yeah, it seems good. I wonder if this is anything different to what I've been playing. One extra land with the Mana Confluence, one less Griffspoon is the only difference I can see in that one. And Kaya in the sideboard, I was thinking about that one myself, seems good. Slight difference of Baffling Ends. Yeah, the Hushbringers I wasn't that impressed with myself, same with the Dead Weight, so they've gone for a bit of a mix there. Anyway, getting off topic. So Dromoka's command, also just put a counter on the creature, seems fine. Again, you can muck up some combat maths. And removal as well. So this card seems multifunctional. I'm not exactly sure when this is going to come. It seems like it's good against a lot of things. It's almost like one of those sideboard cards, a bit like the Knight of Autumn, to be honest, where it's like almost a card that you want to include in the main just because it does something against every deck. So when you're bringing it in, it almost does something again. You feel like you always want to bring it in. Maybe that's fine. Maybe it's just a reactive card that isn't as proactive as all of your creatures and stuff in the main, but obviously post-board you both become more reactive, you both respond to what the opponent's doing. So maybe this is one of those cards that just comes in sort of 2 or 3 against a lot of decks. Having the ability to fight seems very useful against creature decks. Having the ability to make them sack enchantment seems good against some of the combo decks. Preventing someone burning your stuff, I guess, is not good against the Fatal Push kind of decks, but it's good against other sort of control removal spells. So yeah, I'll have to think about when that one comes in, depending on the matchups, I think. Gideon just seems a good sticky threat against, I guess, things like blue-white control, avoids board wipes, etc. as usual, and you can exile things quite quickly, to be fair. Comes in on 4, goes to 5, next turn goes to 6, the next turn, if you want to get rid of him and exile a, I don't know, Seal Away or a Cast Out or something like that, or even a Planeswalker, you can do so. And also just has the nice ability of hitting before every turn. You can just attack every single turn with him unless you're attacking into a lifelink or something, and giving something else sort of immunity, a free attack essentially. So yeah, it's pretty good actually. I guess the fact that you can bring him in against control decks that might be bringing in creatures of themselves means you can kind of continue attacking even if they put sort of a nice blocker up. Knight of Autumn, this is the main ability I guess that you're bringing it in for against artifacts or enchantments, so it's pretty good against the is it in soul decks, I think. Kill anything in their deck plus getting a blocker. It's probably not terrible against sort of the mono red decks, just bring it in again some life. Weird thing is, lots of the time against those sort of decks I think actually do you want to just bring it in and make it a 4/3 which blanks say their board of 3 1/1s or something, or do you want to gain the life, because sometimes making it a 4/3 is effectively gaining you the 4 life anyway because it stops them attacking. So sometimes ability 1 and 3 are kind of the same thing there, funnily enough. But yeah, again, it's just a versatile sideboard card. I think it's not strong enough to go in the main because it's, I mean, it's still a 3-mana 4/3, but it's just not quite as aggressive as, say, the Spellbreaker or the Bonecrusher or the Questing Beast. Phoenix, I'm assuming, comes in against things where you they don't have, there's not a huge amount of exile effects at the moment in Pioneer. Even if the opponent, triggers Riot, Fatal Pushes this, and then Fatal Pushes the token, it's pretty good, or they manage to block it and then Fatal Push. You're nearly always 2 for 1ing them, or you're taxing their removal. They have to have the Seal Away or the Eat to Extinction or something like that on the turn that you have this in hand, bringing a couple of them, and then they also then go, oh okay, we've got rid of this but can't get rid of Questing Beast or Spellbreaker or Bonecrusher or Ghor-Clan now. So yeah, I love this card. I'll definitely be bringing this one in at some point, I think. Chandra, again, so I think we've got like a package of more resilient, wide-ranging threats. So like Phoenix, Chandra, Gideon, all seem like cards that are good against more controlling decks, where card advantage matters. Phoenix is kind of virtual card advantage, Chandra definitely is. The 4 damage to creatures is probably relevant as well, so if I'm coming up against creatures where decks where they're playing creatures with sizable toughness, it might come in as well as a removal spell. So many of these cards have just got so much versatility that I think it will take some practice. Or I looked to see if there's anyone playing this deck on YouTube, and I couldn't see anyone playing anything called Naya Zoo at all, so couldn't really get any frame of reference to what they do when. There's a post on Reddit from a few months back about a similar list that we're calling ACDC because it was playing Atarka's command and Dromoka's command in the main. But yeah, it looks like a brand new list, so I haven't got any frame of reference in terms of how to play the main deck, what to sideboard in, how to play Magic in general. So let's stop chatting about it, let's get into a league. We're just going to be playing practice leagues again. I say I'm going to be playing practice decks leagues, you're going to watch me play them incorrectly. And we'll see how busy they are, see if it will actually let me find one. So we're going Pioneer, which is a funny format. I quite like Pioneer, I like the idea of it, I like the fact that it's sort of a cross between Standard and Modern. It gives a few more, sort of just more interesting games than Standard. I think Standard you get into kind of a pattern of learning what decks are best, seeing what they do, and you get this kind of repetitive, slightly, even though it changes quite quickly, the games aren't that interesting. So I want Pioneer, Tournament Practice. So yeah, it's kind of, I think the games are more interesting, etc. But the funny thing is, I find I've not done that well in Pioneer in events. People who play Paper Magic with me, I know I've gone to several qualifiers and managed to muck up every one, changing deck each time. And I think part of the reason is because the meta is not that stable. I don't learn Standard and Modern. I know all the meta decks pretty much. I can sort of put opponents on certain cards. This one, I'm always a little bit confused about what the hell's going on, really, about what the opponent's deck is, things like that. 4 lands seems a little bit high, but then we've got 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop. I don't think I can chuck this back. I can play this tapped on turn 1. I can play everything on curve as well, so yeah, we'll keep this. I think the absolutely ideal hand would have one extra, have the 1-drop. I won't pay the life, thank you, and I will pass. Yeah, so I think the ideal hand would probably be this, but instead of the forest, I'd have a Pelt Collector or Experiment 1, and then I'd draw the land in my first 3 turns. Okay, no idea what the opponent's playing here then. Now I draw the Pelt Collector. So the question here is, do I delay a turn and play the Pelt Collector, and then everything goes back a turn? Potentially, if they're going to play blockers, we could just ignore this and just play as we were going to 2, 3, 4. We could play the 2-drop. I think I'm going to be patient because I think I want this to become a 4. Let's try this. Don't know. It's a bit of a spanner in the works. I would have loved to have it on turn 1, as I said, but I'm going to be trying to be patient. I think I've got quality cards. They're not just, you know, little 1/1 goblins or something. They are all sizable things that are all going to outsize this, and I think having an extra creature which will outsize this and other similar things they're playing. Okay, so we're playing against Soulflayer, which does worry me a little bit. There's nothing in the main that can actually deal with that. Obviously can't block this. I guess I just hope they don't have a Soulflayer in their opening hand. I can still, I'm going to kill them anytime quickly, but once I establish a board of these 4 creatures, that would kill them reasonably quickly. But they might have pumped this up high enough. They might have got a 4/4 flying lifelink, death touch, indestructible creature out by then. Second quest and beast isn't great. So I think here, if we just go Spellbreaker with, we can kind of wait on the voice. I don't think that's going to actually be relevant in terms of its ability. If we do this, the question is, am I putting it in with haste? Because they can just discard a card, discard 2 creatures, pump this up out of range anyway. So I think I want to just play it as a 4/4. But then again, I want this to trigger more than once. It's already tricky. I can do that. Play it as a 4/4, play this as a 4/4, get attacking, eventually play the voice as sort of an afterthought. Yeah, this is difficult. yeah, playing this and hasting it into a lot less troll, it will. I guess if they discard 2 creature cards, they still trade. Hand of 5 cards, there's a chance they have 3 creatures in there, which will feel really bad because it will kill both of these. But if they kill this, this pumps again. I want to attack at some point, but I just don't want to throw things away. But at the same time, every card they draw could be an extra creature, which gets this beyond that range. So it's going to get 2 creatures if this dies, become a 3/3, become a 4/4 next turn. I can't regenerate this yet, which is nice, but they can just block this if I attack. So they could block this, discard 3 creature cards, make it a 5/4, block this is the absolute worst scenario. This would then be a 2/2. I know what, I'm going to go for it. Do they have 3 creature cards in their hand is the question. If they have 2, I don't think they're blocking this because they need this to... Do they need to stay around? I don't know. Let's go for it. And now the question is, do I attack with both? If I attack with this one, more likely they just block here, pump this up twice out of range. 3 damage gets through, so I think we just swing with this. Yeah, I haven't played against this deck much, to be honest. I haven't played against that many Pioneer decks in general because there's a wide range of decks, and because I've played quite a few decks as well. So I guess they don't. That tells me they either don't have 3 creature cards in hand in that hand of 5, or they're not ones they want to discard. Maybe one of them is the Soulflayer itself, which is worrying. Or they just want to wait till they can regenerate. Maybe they had a couple and they just want to hold the mana up every turn to the end of the game now, so they can just block and regenerate. Nice thing is, this has got trample, which, well, it's not relevant once it's got 3 toughness, but this will have when it's a 4/4, which should happen at some point. So, I mean, I think I'm just going to go Quest and Beast, swing with all next turn, because I don't think we can wait around too much. Opponent is floating a black mana for something. So I think, are they still thinking about this? I've missed. Okay, so they could have put the Wayfinder. Oh, have they put the Soulflayer in the hand? I think it probably explains on the game log. Put a Soulflayer, yeah, okay. So they revealed these, and the Soulflayer went into hand. Soulflayer obviously can't cast without any black mana, and okay, they can cast that without any black mana. This looks like a very difficult matchup. So they have a Soulflayer in hand. At least they can't make any good, but now they have a 5/5, which makes all of our creatures pretty bad. So I think here we just go play both of our 2-drops actually. Try and go wide, draw one of the command type cards, and maybe kill them that way. So the 3/3 will trigger this, the 2/2 won't, so it doesn't matter which order I play them. Am I attacking? No, the Ghor-Clan Rampager seems quite a good play from them. So I think all of these have been exiled now, haven't they? So that is what they have left in hand. Okay, I have a slight issue here, we only have 1 white mana. I want to trigger this guy as much as possible, so I kind of want to play this anyway. And we're not attacking anyway, so let's just go for that. So yeah, this is the first instance of 3 colours screwing me over slightly. I guess there's probably more green-white stuff, so it's slightly unfortunate this isn't tapping for white as well. Let's yield to this. So I mean, there is an option of chump attacking, but I think I just need to be patient. The good thing is they have a Soulflayer plus 2 other cards. Soulflayer doesn't do anything right now, they can't cast it. We're not actually dying to anytime soon. I think we just have to be patient and get to a situation where we draw one of the cards that's going to be able to, so like the the 4 mana guy that you can discard to pump something. Should set up a... Okay, that's fine and also quite bad because they're gonna... I guess they're gonna take the land at this point. They're taking a Night Veil. They put Soul. They're taking the Soulflayer. So they've got double Soulflayer now. So this is in the graveyard. This graveyard. They have double Soulflayer in hand, and I guess they can actually cast one of them, give it hexproof. That's everything. That's it. The 4/4 hexproof is. I'm not saying it's bad for them, but it's not the worst for us. Flying as well, I suppose, but it does put us on a bit of a clock. Expecting no attacks because I don't really well. Yeah. Another land's not really what we wanted. We'll still play it pre-combat before the Questing Beast because it can represent a shock or something like that if there's any reason not to. I think we should go Questing Beast. The question is, do we start attacking? Because this can just eat this or this. I think we're attacking with the Questing Beast because it can take out anything. They haven't got the mana to regenerate this, so we're definitely casting Questing Beast and attacking with that. This will be a 4/4 trample, which just gets eaten by this. This is now useless. Maybe should have just played it as a 4/4 after all, but we're still getting by this. We just go Questing Beast attack with just the Questing Beast. Yeah. We leave red mana up because that's more representative of things like shock or wild slash even, but you know. They probably just block with the Ghor-Mag here, but it's just decent. Well, we've got a second one, that's not terrible. The good thing is the Soulflayer doesn't have lifelink. I think that would be really, really bad. Yeah, these creatures just outsize these, which is unfortunate. This, I don't think it's possible really to get this as a 5/5 without any pump spells. So we'll kind of trade just throwing away this probably for the Ghor-Mag. But at least we've got another one next turn, so we might be able, if they attack with this. I'm assuming they're going to block here. But it kind of unlocks attacks following turns. Okay, they're just not blocking, which could be bad for us. I think the one good thing here is they haven't got, like I say, a big lifelinker. I think that's the real dreaded scenario, is that this comes in with lifelink and then suddenly it's attacking every turn, and the game just gets away from us quickly then. Whereas now, I think we're actually in that bad a state. Don't mind this attacking, and obviously I'm just I can't block it anyway. I guess the issue is they can probably just cast a second one if they have like another Gather the Pack or something, but these are giving them damage. If they need to get them coloured mana off them, so if they need to cast something like this, they're going to take a bit more damage. I think we're still in with a shout here. 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, so we can't sort of go for it now. Back up. I think I may actually just cast the Voice of Resurgence pre-combat next turn. Oh, that's what I was just going to say, especially if I draw another untapped white source. It kind of forces their hand. If they have instant speed removal, I don't know if they do play any, but if they do, if they wait to combat to do it, it sort of mucks up. Yeah, this is nice. So I can give this, actually let's think about this. Do I want to actually give this indestructible, potentially, and then play this post-combat once they've killed the first one here? This is going to regenerate and block. This is going to block and regenerate my best things. They probably block here. They'll probably block here. This will probably block here, and outsize it with just discarding something. This will kind of get in for 7. They're going to gain 1 back, 6. I don't think they have any spells they're going to cast in my turn, so I think I actually want to hold up this and regenerate it rather than, yeah, and then I'm probably going to play a Questing Beast post combat once this one's dead. So I think I'll go swinging with everything. I can make sure maybe I don't regenerate, so just cast this as a blocker. It's kind of a I want to kill them before they kill me situation. Yeah, let's go for it. I don't think they have instant speed removal. I think their deck's more all in on sort of doing their own thing. I'm assuming these two are going to are going to survive, but they may block. As I said, they may block here actually, so maybe not. They could just block these, these two. Discard something or just or regenerate this. These survive, so I need to make sure. If I don't need to regenerate this, I cast this to make sure I have enough blockers to just not die on the crackback. 4, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's going to be bigger. 13. Okay. So at the moment they're taking 4. An extra 1 here, but I guess they can. Let's say 5, going to 5. If I regenerate this, I guess they're not killing this, so I can just regenerate that and play that now. So let's do that. White and green. Sorry, give it indestructible, not regenerate. Same thing. Almost. So they're now going to kill this by discarding as a tower. Okay, this is kind of bad. This is going to happen next turn. Nothing I can do about that. I kind of saw that happening anyway. I don't think that's avoidable. At least I'm going to get rid of this thing. This is more damage is getting through here actually. So they are taking 7, going to 3, and getting 1, going to 4 then. Yeah, they're regenerating. Makes sense. I still think I've got a shot though because of the Questing Beast, which is kind of almost unblockable. Yeah, obviously we'll do the normal thing there, and then we can just cast this guy, and over to you. They are still just under threat of dying. Field of Ruin doesn't do anything. I can't actually activate any abilities here, so it should just pass me through to their combat phase. Okay, this is an issue actually. I've missed this completely. They're going to Soulflayer with haste here, so they're going to gain 4, puts them up to 8, and it has vigilance. This is a big problem. So they're going to be on 8 with a vigilance, lifelink, indestructible thing. This might be enough to see the end for me here because they can just, well, I don't know why they wouldn't attack with that. It has flying, haste and vigilance, and they just didn't attack with it. I think that's just a mistake from them. I can't see any reason why they wouldn't just attack with that thing. Maybe they just forgot it had vigilance. So the question is now, can I actually swing? So here, this will just bounce here. They'll gain 4, but I'll also, yeah, this is, with this indestructible, this can just block this. They can just eat that. They can eat that. Yeah, I can't really attack at all here. I think I'm just going to die to this. If they just attacked last turn, it would have sped it up a bit more. Combat damage that will be dealt by a creature you control can't be prevented. Indestructible. Unfortunately, those two things do not mean it will die. Yeah, nothing I can do here. I'm not even going to. I'll play the land, I guess. There's a chance I want to play multiple things next turn. will not pay life, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think we can win this one. I think I just wait to see how it sort of plays out. They might keep forgetting to attack with their... It does have vigilance, doesn't it? I don't know why they've scooped there at all. Unless they are just conceding and going home. No idea what they're doing. I think they've just... weird. So, Chandra as extra removal is a possibility. Okay, I mean the first thing that's coming in is Rest in Peace to stop them doing their shenanigans. I think Declaration Stone seems good too, because exiling things are indestructible seems very good. This has an exile ability as well, which is probably actually more relevant than the Chandra's 4 damage. And again, they do have Hexproof as well, quite a lot of the time. Phoenix, I don't think we're going to bring in, that's against control sort of things. Fight ability seems nice, but I think I'm fighting on the battlefield as opposed to needing to remove things outside of it. I think I want to just go for the remove. The white seems like the kind of removal suite. +4 and trample seems kind of nice, but is it that relevant? I guess I might trim some of the 1-drops, which are the worst ones. This can regenerate. This can grow when things die as well. You have to shrink it to regenerate, don't you? Doesn't get trample. This does get trample. Let's keep the one that has trample. Not sure which is correct, but I think we just need to be a little bit more reactive. Boros Charms. I think we're just going to trim one of each of the charm type command cards. Actually, this one doesn't seem that relevant. They can't gain life. They can take 3 damage. Let's just trim one of each and say that's good enough. So we've got 2-drops coming in for 1-drops and 3 for 2. So I've gone up. The curve's gone up a bit on the draw, so more likely to draw obviously a land. Get that extra draw at the start. So I don't think the curve going up a little bit matters that much. I have no idea why they conceded that game. I don't think we had a chance. Maybe they just completely missed their thing, had vigilance, and maybe also they've just conceded the game. So I'll call that one the end of this video. We'll start another one. I think that was a good primer. At least we've gone through the deck tech. We saw what the deck did to an extent. We didn't draw any of the actual kind of pump spells or sort of interaction. We just drew creatures on curve, well, slightly off curve. Yeah, so that didn't seem like a great matchup anyway, but you know, post board we probably would have been fine. We'll see more in video 2. Alright, thanks very much.